Hey everyone, I'm Clue. Welcome back to my 10-hour challenge for So Dungeon 2. So on to Dimension 7, but unfortunately we're getting to the end of this set of runs for this first season. So I've got about 3 challenges left for the Magic Clock, and I also am an hour behind pace currently. So we definitely can't get done in 10 hours, and I definitely won't continue the run once we run out of the Magic Clock. From this point on, Relic Choice isn't a big thing until we can unlock damage, but I am also starting to rethink our best form of damage and what it really is, and we'll go over it in a bit once we actually tackle the dungeon, because I'll leave a bit more in so we can actually showcase what I'm going to talk about. But for the most part, again, the dimension's super simple. It's just rinse and repeat. We have our final comp setup, so to speak, which is Mystic, 2 healers, and then 2 campers. The reason I run 2 healers is because group heal at its best does 50%, I think it is, or 100. Either way, I can generally get back to full health through double group healing, so that's why I still run 2 nurses. Quest-wise, doesn't really matter, gold and everything from inheritance. I'm going to try to gear up as much as possible, and it's really going to showcase how important gear is in a second. So with our Iron Sword, our current relic levels and everything, I can pretty much clear, not to the Dimension boss, but a significant interval compared to the previous dimensions, and this is something we're really going to have to start trying to tackle, is getting a lot further with these earlier runs, but not also getting further, but also doing it at a reasonable pace. So we're into the dimension, and the new sort of tactic that I'm starting to consider is just to run nurses. So through Biohazard, we can actually output equivalent, if not more damage than the Carpenter's Nailed It that's been powered up. So status effects do a percentage of the boss's HP, and it's fixed, so even if they're on a low percentage, it's still going to do the same amount of damage, which means it does greatly outscale Nailed It's damage. So right now it's doing 200 to their 260, and this is on the 3rd boss, so we're still in the thousands for HP, but once we get into the later parts of the runs, or the later dimension bosses or janitors, that's when our damage really starts to eclipse the Carpenter's. And this is important for a couple of reasons, because it means I can focus solely on leveling the Mystics and Nurses and really getting their levels up, because those base stats really do help. There's some percentile ones in the later ranges that are just really beneficial, rather than trying to obviously level up all 3 party members and have our damage and survivability slowly drop off. Second, I can outpace any form of damage with healing, meaning I don't have to rely too much on base damage. I can rely on status damage and just coping through healing. It is going to be a lot slower, but you can see right now I'm leaving the dungeon. So I lost 1 party member, so I decided to can it. With the right circumstances, focusing more so on healing, I'm pretty sure you could get to the end of the dimension in 1 run just with minimal gear. I had Iron Swords and Iron Rings, so it's definitely something to start reworking. This idea that I would rather focus survivability than damage. We lose a bit on time, but our benefits sort of rack up, because we can get further into each dimension off of fewer runs, and we can also obviously, well, it's not necessarily clearing it in a quicker time, because the animations are actually going to be slower, especially if we're starting to really rack up damage. I don't know if you sort of picked it apart, but compared to obviously the first janitor I faced, I cleared in 1 hit, to the later ones, it took a lot longer if you sort of go back and view the clips. So it's again, I'm going to circle back to this fine line of who are the correct classes to focus on, because right now I started with the mentality that it was just Mystics. Mystics were the best way possible, because you can output the most damage and sort of circumvent scaling through their AoE attacks. But that damage drops off a lot quicker than I expected, simply because the scaling from the Relic doesn't work as well with AoE or magic attacks for whatever reason. I don't know, it's not 1-to-1 like it should be. For the most part, it is significantly weaker. So that's why I sort of went back to striking, and then the fact that striking is just significantly quicker. There is also Noxen, so Dark Mages is another thing to maybe consider, because they can obviously inflict the status effect, and then it goes back to an AoE, and it's fairly quick. I'm pretty sure it's quicker than a Nurse's Biohazard. But I think in terms of survivability, 1 Mystic, 5 Nurses, running Biohazard against all bosses, and then just striking, just really powering through and striking every enemy, might just be the quickest way. I also need to sort of stop relying on the scripts, because that's really eating a lot of my time. So right now I'm running Nailed It on every enemy, and that's costing me a lot of time, when if I were to, say, do it manually and strike everything, or if I were to sort of reverse the script and have the script set up to strike everything and heal, and then I just take over once we get to the point where our damage drops off, or for bosses. It's definitely a easy way for me to save a lot of time. But again, we're still in this trial phase. Anyway, we're at the Dimension boss. Super simple, 2 runs like usual, so we're definitely doing a lot better than my previous paces. I think most Dimensions took me maybe 3 to 4 runs, and now the fact that we can consistently get every Dimension done in 2 is highly significant to the run. This boss in itself is sort of RNG. We need 150 HP to survive, and then 2 nurses to heal up back to full, so it's not a big deal. Again, I really need to rewatch everything and map out every boss's highest damage so I can work out health thresholds for each dimension. So if I can hit those health thresholds, then theoretically I can get the dimension done in 1 round, which will just save time with Magic Clock and allow me to push it further and make use of it in the later dimensions, because right now it's going to drop off. I think I have 1 charge left, right? I started with 3, we're doing 2 runs. Yeah, so I have 1 charge left for Dimension 8, and then 9 and 10 I have to do very, very slowly without the Magic Clock, considering it's like double the time. So if these take me an hour, you can just imagine they're going to take me 2+ hours, if that, especially with the scaling and everything. The Good Lord himself is sort of going to be a hassle. I think you can't actually out-damage him with Nailed It at this point. I think I need to focus on statuses and rank. Stacking the dots is what I'm trying to say, to really out DPS his meditate and healing. But than that, the run at the same time is becoming a lot simpler to me. It's a new set of goals than what I previously thought. It's meet the level thresholds to unlock X skills, and then it's honestly just relying on strike damage and perseverance, rather than trying to meet these damage thresholds so that I can perfectly clear each world, which kind of sucks because I did so much mathematics figuring out what damage thresholds for each dimension were. It's not a big deal. This is the whole learning process, and the point of me turning this into a series rather than just me beating my head against the wall till I get a dimension done. But yeah, so Dimension 7 done, 8, 13, bit slow, oh well. Hope you enjoyed.